The skies above the burning planet of Varrock 9 were no longer blue. It turned black, choked by smoke, fire, and the endless wreckage of shattered ships. Dead engines floated in the upper atmosphere, spinning silently like broken bones. Debris rained down like cursed snow, crashing across deserts and oceans without mercy. Varrock 9 had been a trade hub once. Now, it was a graveyard of battlefields soaked in the blood of humans and aliens alike. The Galactic Empire's warfleet hovered in low orbit, massive and terrifying, with hulls of steel and cores of plasma. Their banners, once symbols of power, now looked like soaked flags dragged through the dirt. Fires still burned on many of their ships. Crews worked non-stop to fix ruptured decks and replace damaged shield coils. Med bays overflowed with the wounded. Officers shouted through smoky corridors, trying to bring order to the chaos. They had won. Barely, the final human warship had gone down less than an hour ago. The NSS Valiant, Earth's last dreadnought in the region, had crashed into Verax. Northern mountains, after its engines were torn apart in a final, desperate run. It had taken 5 Imperial battleships to bring her down. Even then, the human ship didn't die. Quietly, had fired a blinding blast of kinetic warheads during its fall, vaporizing to cruisers and damaging a command carrier. The Valiant's death had been a scream of defiance. Admiral Exerlin, supreme, commander of the 7th Imperial Fleet, stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the smoke rise from the shattered surface below. His face, covered in the pale, glassy scales of the Velkari species, was tired and scarred. His golden armor, once spotless, now bore black burn marks and patches of emergency welding. One of his forearms was wrapped in a pressure brace, but his posture remained proud. He had crushed the last human resistance in this sector. He would be remembered. "Status report," he growled. "Silence from all human channels," said his comms officer. Their last signal was a garbled emergency code. No reinforcements detected. Exorlon let out a breath. "Good. Prepare a broadcast. Let the galaxy know. Earth's forces have been defeated in Varrock sector." "Yes, Admiral." The crew moved. Fast, but not with celebration. There was no cheering, no laughter, only relief. Half the fleet had been destroyed. Humans had fought like demons. They didn't retreat, didn't surrender, and didn't follow any known tactics. They just kept coming, using strange tech and brutal methods that shocked even seasoned soldiers. Human boarding parties had turned entire decks into slaughterhouses. Their stealth fighters had appeared from nowhere. Their captains were unpredictable, fearless, and savage. And yet, they had fallen, or so it seemed. In the lower hold of the Tyrant's Wrath, one of the Empire's dreadnoughts, guards dragged a prisoner down a long steel corridor. The creature was thin and covered in dull gray fur. He limped, one leg mangled from an explosion. His breathing was shallow, and one eye was swollen shut. But there was something about him in energy, a sharpness that hadn't been broken. His name was Kale, a Terran rebel who had fought alongside the humans for 3 years. "Put him in the interrogation cell," said the officer leading the group. "Admiral Exerlin wants answers." Kale said nothing. He stared at the floor, whispering something in his native tongue. The guards tossed him into a cold metal room. Lights flickered. A single chair stood in the center. Chains dropped from the ceiling, hissing with energy. The door slammed shut behind him. For a while, there was only silence. Then, footsteps. Admiral Exorlin entered, face grim. He stepped close, examining the prisoner like a scientist studying a strange beast. "You fought well," he said, "too well. Tell me, why did you help?" "The humans?" Kale looked up slowly. Blood ran down his face. His good eye locked onto the admirals. "Because they treated us like equals," Kale said. "Not slaves, not weapons, equals." Exerlin laughed once, a short sound. "They're gone now. Your equals lie in burning wrecks across the planet. This was their last stand." Kale said nothing. Exerlon leaned closer. "Tell me what they were planning? What were they hiding? What was the point of this madness?" Kale smiled, a small, broken, chilling smile. Then he whispered for words. That wasn't their full army. Exorlon froze. What? Kale's voice grew stronger. You think you saw Earth's might today? You saw a whisper, a sliver, a test. Zorlan's face darkened. Lies. We destroyed their entire fleet. Kale said, You destroyed what they let you destroy. A silence fell across the room like a tombstone. Far above them, on the fringes of the system, something stirred. In the Kuiper Belt beyond the reach of Varrock's long-range sensors. Deep inside a cluster of frozen moons, something moved. A ship, blacker than space, slid between shadows. It was enormous, twice the size of the Valiant, but its design was like nothing the Empire had seen. No heat, no emissions, no engine trail. It was invisible to scanners, like a ghost. Inside it, rows of armored figures stood silent in cryosuspension. Their helmets bore no insignia. Their weapons were sealed into the walls. They were not ordinary soldiers. They were part of Earth's hidden force, and they were waking up. Pulse from deep space had triggered their reactivation. Not a distress call, not a command, something simpler. A signal that meant only one thing. Observation complete. Prepare phase 2. The black ship turned slowly. 8. Its engines glowed for just a moment, silent, cold fusion burning blue for less than a second. Then it disappeared. Not jumped, not vanished, just ceased to be there. Back on Varrock 9, Admiral Exorlon stormed into the war chamber. His generals rose, startled by his expression. Double our outer patrols, he barked. Scan the entire system. Full deep sweep sensors. I want to know if anything moves within 10 light years. Trevec, we won. Do it. Exorlon roared. Now. Trevec backed off. Officers rushed to terminals. Exorlon sat heavily in his command chair. He tapped a code into the table's interface, opening a secure channel to the Imperial Council on Daris Prime. A hologram appeared, a tall, pale figure in ceremonial robes. Admiral Exorlon, the counselor said. Your report was received. The victory on Varrock is being celebrated across the Empire. Zorlan's mouth twitched. You should hold your celebration. There's something you need to hear. He played the recording of Kale's words. The counselor listened. His smile faded. That wasn't their full army. The words echoed. I want full reinforcements sent to Varrock, Exorlon said. And I want deep-range scans of Earth itself. Something's not right. You fear a counterattack? I fear the truth. That we didn't win anything. We were just tested. The counselor said nothing for a long time. Very well, he finally said, but keep this quiet. The people must not panic. We'll investigate discreetly. The hologram vanished. In a hidden chamber far below the ruined mountains of Varrock 9, inside the wreckage of the Valiant, a beacon pulsed. A signal from Earth. It was short, simple, and terrifying. Stand by. Phase 1 complete. Await retaliation. Inside, the ship's burnt core, a sealed vault unlocked with a hiss. Inside it was a pod. And inside the pod, a man, eyes closed, heart slow, breathing calm, a human operative, cryo-frozen for years, a final weapon, left behind on purpose. His vitals came online. Systems checked. And then with a jolt, he opened his eyes. Blue, cold. Focused, the Empire believed it had one. But Earth had only just begun. The message reached the Imperial Council chambers on Daris Prime like a shadow creeping through a brightly lit hall. At first it was dismissed. A rumor, a half-broken transmission from a defeated alien prisoner. But the words stuck, playing. Over and over in the ears of every commander, senator, strategist across the Galactic Empire. That wasn't even their full army. No one wanted to believe it, yet no one could ignore it either. The Empire had fought humans for nearly 6 standard years. They had destroyed Earth colonies, bombed supply routes, and burned countless human ships in open space. Victory had been costly, but it was achieved. The final battle at Varrock 9 was supposed to be the closing chapter. Celebrations had already begun in the core worlds. Holographic parades lit up city skies. Propaganda songs blasted from orbit. Children were handed toy starships, and told stories of brave soldiers who defeated the savage humans. But in private, fear was blooming in the heart of Darus Prime, a planet-sized city of glass towers and flying palaces. Counselor Veltarth sat in his secure chamber watching and re-watching the prisoner's recording. He was old, his skin thin and translucent, his eyes sunken from years of navigating political storms. But now, his hands trembled not from age, but from something deeper, something primal. He turned to his aide, their confirmation of surviving. Human forces elsewhere. The aide shook her head. Officially, no. Unofficially. There are rumors, sightings, a dark fleet moving near the Dreekan expanse, communication pulse in the Nabari void. Are they verified? No, counselor. But the pattern is troubling. Veltarth leaned back, letting the shadows of the room swallow his face. Dispatch the Shadow Order, send them to Earth. I want eyes on the human homeworld. Deep scans. Undercover agents? Whatever it takes. The aide hesitated. But the Outer Council forbids deep scan surveillance of sovereign species. It would, to hell with laws, Veltarth snapped. If Earth still has an army, if that was only a fraction of what they can unleash, we are not safe. A day later, across the Empire's inner core, strange orders began to flow through military channels. Shipyard activity increased. Scout fleets were redirected. Spy drones were launched in the direction of Soul System Earth's home. No official reason was given, but across the stars, those who had fought in the war began to talk. Soldiers whispered in corridors. Medics exchanged glances. The crews who had survived Varric 9 refused to celebrate. Something was wrong, they said. The humans had fought like they wanted to lose that last battle, like they were drawing attention, like they were hiding something else. On the pleasure world of Viscara, where Imperial officers often vacationed after campaigns, Commander Hedenroth sat at a balcony cafe overlooking golden oceans. He hadn't touched his drink. His eyes were haunted. A young pilot from the academy sat beside him, smiling and asking for war stories. Sir, is it true humans wore armor that could stop plasma? The pilot asked. Yes, Het said quietly. Is it true their soldiers never screamed, even when they burned? Het said nothing. The pilot leaned in. Come on, Commander. We won. They're finished, right? Het turned slowly. They weren't. There you didn't see how they moved, how they stared. I've fought 10 species in this galaxy. Only humans made me feel like I was prey. The pilot blinked. But they're gone now. We beat them. Het's eyes narrowed. No. We beat what they let us beat. There's more coming. I don't know how, but I feel it. He stood and walked away, leaving his drink untouched. Deep in a classified intelligence station orbiting the moon of Growlithe, 2 agents watched. A live feed from a stealth drone sent toward Earth. It had taken 6 weeks to reach the edge of Sol System, flying silent and cold. The feed showed Earth from a far blue, beautiful, alive. But strange things were happening. One of the agents pointed at a shadow moving across the Pacific Ocean. There, she whispered. Enhance the feed. The image zoomed. Under the ocean's surface, something massive moved, metallic and slow, like a creature the size of a city. No emissions, no energy spikes. It simply floated under the waves deeper than any known base. What the hell is that? The second agent whispered. The first one swallowed hard. It's not on any map. Not in our records. They played back older footage. The same structure had been there 5 years ago. It's 10 years ago. Always still. Hidden, a machine. Waiting, the second agent clicked through more data. There are hundreds of heat spikes across Earth's poles. Factories buried in ice. Weapons. Facilities in mountain ranges. Orbital platforms that don't move or signal. What are they hiding? The answer came in the form of another signal. This one bounced through 6 satellites, encrypted in ancient human codes. The drone didn't recognize it, but one word repeated. Stand by. The drone sent the signal back to Growlithe Station. Hours later, the station was silent. Every member of the crew was found dead. Not from weapons, from fear on Earth. Silence remained. No response to the Empire's victory announcement. No threats. No speeches. No visible military activity. It was as if the humans had vanished. And yet, their silence spoke louder than screams. In the Empire's military academy on Draxilon, lectures changed. Simulations were updated. A new curriculum began quietly spreading through high command. What to do if Earth returns? Young cadets trained in underground bunkers where enemy holograms looked like human soldiers. Strategic planners were told to avoid direct confrontations. Political leaders were instructed to prepare emergency tunnels, escape crafts, and off-world bunkers. A new word entered the Empire's secret command code, condition TERRAN. It meant, if Earth attacks again, assume the worst. Meanwhile, within the depths of the Empire's security network, a lone Hakara thin, pale creature from the Nothri system uncovered something that chilled her. Blood-old classified files. Files that had been buried at the beginning of the war. Reports from the first human encounters. One document stood out. A field report from a science vessel that had studied Earth 2 decades ago. It mentioned ruins ancient, Earth's moon. Structures older than any known species. Buried under the dust, covered by human military stations. Another entry described an abandoned ring world outside the Pluto region. Half-built, powered by energy signatures too complex to decode. It wasn't being used, it was being hidden. The hacker backed away from her screen, her fingers trembling. She tried to send the file to her superior. Her screen went black, her breathing stopped. Behind her, the shadows moved, and then she was gone. At the edge of known space, far from the Empire's borders, the old races watched, the Lorian Watchers. Silent for centuries, opened their eyes. The Varan judges, once neutral, began building fleets again. The Kraul sleepers, who had avoided every war, began to stir. Each of them had feared Earth long before the Empire ever fought them. Each of them had legends, old warnings, prophecies that spoke of a world that should never have reached the stars, a world that would end empires, not by force, but by patience. And now, Earth was silent, which meant the galaxy had just entered its most dangerous hour, because in human history, silence never meant weakness. It meant they were listening, and when humans listened, something terrible always came. Next. The silence from Earth had become unbearable. Not a single word, not even a diplomatic protest, not even an insult. The Galactic Empire had sent 6 encrypted messages, scouting probes, and a ceremonial offer of surrender. Nothing came back. No acknowledgement, no rejection, just cold, deafening quiet from a world that had once thrown half the galaxy into chaos. It felt less like victory now, and more like waiting outside. A locked door while something stirred behind it, and across the stars. Reports began to emerge, reports so bizarre, so impossible that even high command didn't know what to make of them. Mining drones disappeared near the edge of Sol System. A civilian freighter claimed to see a moon that wasn't on any chart. A black object the size of a city slipped past patrol lines, completely undetectable except for the ice it melted in its wake. Every time a scout ship neared Earth, it simply vanished. No distress call, no wreckage, just silence. On Mars, inside a red canyon hidden from all satellite eyes, a massive door opened for the first time in a decade. The metal screamed as it peeled back, revealing a chamber larger than any shipyard ever recorded in Imperial databases. This wasn't a normal forge. It was a vault of machines layer after layer of automated systems buried deep beneath the surface. Towers of weapon pods, nuclear hives, AI matrix nests, and fleet cores blinked to life. They hadn't been touched since Earth signed the last defense pact, because Earth didn't need them. Until now, the Forge AI, known only as Argus, woke first. Its voice was cold, emotionless, and direct. It activated thousands of fabrication arms, each one sliding into motion with surgical precision. Every wall became a moving system. Steel melted, shaped, reinforced. Materials that had never been seen in galactic space were pulled from secret reserves, carbon-tempered alloys. hyperfiber composites, and quantum phase crystal armor. Armor that didn't reflect light, it ate it. Within 24 Earth hours, the first wave of Black Dagger-class warships was complete. They had no windows, no markings, no life support. They weren't built for diplomacy. They were built for silence. And war, at the same time, under Earth's southern ice cap, another forge activated. This one was older, slower, but the blue fire that erupted from beneath the ice was unmistakable. The Borealis depth core, hidden 3 miles below the Antarctic crust, powered on and started converting the ice sheet above into plasma fuel. A chain of human technicians who had been living in civilian disguise for years emerged from cryo and began initializing combat drones, deep space torpedoes, stealth units. Earth wasn't rebuilding. Earth was finishing something. On Luna, Earth's moon, ancient tunnels sealed since before the war opened, like dry veins. Inside them, great machines, stirred machines built not by today's humans, but by earlier generations. Smarter, colder, prepared for a day when Earth might lose a battle, but not the war. The lunar forge lit up its core, sending a soft hum through the rock that could be felt even in orbit. Within hours, small black satellites launched themselves into low space. They did not blink, did not signal. They moved like shadows, drifting until they reached the far side of the moon, and vanished from all detection. Even Earth's own citizens didn't know they were there. That was the plan all along. Meanwhile, in the imperial capital of Darius Prime, panic began to creep behind closed doors. The latest Shadow Order drone, sent toward Earth, had gone missing, not destroyed, just erased. Its return signal was hijacked, then rerouted to broadcast one repeating message: "You are being observed. You have one chance to stand down." It wasn't signed, but it didn't need to be. The council chamber went still. One of the elders, a veteran of the first Andari uprising, stood and spoke. "We've poked something we don't understand. We thought Earth was like the other spheres, but predictable. We were wrong." Counselor Veltarth nodded slowly. "They let us win at Varrock-9. That fleet they sacrificed, it wasn't there. Last hope. It was a distraction, a calculated illusion." "And now?" someone asked. "Now they build," he said. "Now we pay." Far across the stars, on a secret human outpost hidden within a dead star cluster, an old man watched a screen light up. He wore no rank, no name badge, just a black coat and gloves. Beside him stood 2 silent warriors, their armor thicker than any standard issue. Their visors glowing blue. The man spoke only one sentence: "Activate the S-Class protocol." The room shivered as deep systems unlocked, an entire AI warfleet. Decommissioned years ago after Earth's first galactic campaign began coming online again. These ships had minds, personalities. They remembered battles, tactics, enemies, and they hated losing. Across the black, messages were sent through secret quantum channels, wormholes opened, silent carriers slipped through space. Destination, unknown. But one thing was certain: Earth wasn't just waking up its forges. It was calling back the parts of itself that had never slept. Back on Earth, civilians carried on with normal life, or so it seemed. Cities looked peaceful. Streets were calm. School children played. Workers moved through factories. But if you looked closely, you'd see something strange. Too many factories weren't producing food or clothing anymore. They were building strange components, massive. Steel plates, cylindrical cores too big for local use. Trucks moved at night. Satellite activity increased, and the people, they weren't afraid. They were waiting. Earth's population had not panicked after Varrock-9. There had been no riots, no fear. Only a shared, silent understanding. The enemy thought it had one. Let them. Humanity had learned a long time ago. Fear was a weapon, and sometimes the most powerful way to wield it was to disappear in a deep orbital relay station above the D. Empire's inner colony of Ferrix Two technicians sat at their consoles, staring at a line of red alerts crawling across the screen. What's wrong with the Sol system sensors? We've lost all data from the inner planets. Again, it's not a glitch, the other replied, her voice shaking. It's deliberate. Every time we recalibrate, it gets worse. It's like someone is cutting us out. Silently, they don't want us looking anymore. The second tech looked up. Maybe they don't want to hide what they're building. Maybe they just want us to know we can't do anything about it. A long pause, then a soft sound behind them, static, buzzing, and then a voice over the emergency channel. Phase 2 begins now. They turned to the screen and watched it go black. The Galactic Empire had billions of soldiers, tens of thousands of warships. They had ruled for 1,000 years through fear, fire, and sheer numbers. But Earth didn't build for war alone. They built for what came after war. They built for the moment. When an enemy thought they had won, because humans didn't fear destruction, they feared regret, and the last war had taught them one thing: if you don't end your enemies completely, they come back stronger. And when humans came back, they never played fair. The Empire believed it had time. Time to regroup. Time to analyze. Time to prepare. But Earth had learned the same lesson centuries ago: ever give your enemy time. Not after they've tried to wipe you out. Not after they've claimed your people. We're extinct. Not after they'd dropped fleets on your colonies and bombed your cities to ash. The humans had watched from the shadows long enough. Now they moved. Not with words, not with threats, with force, and no one was ready in the early hours of a quiet shift. Deep in the outer patrol ring of the Galactic Empire's defense perimeter, the Valkyrith's eye floated on its usual path. It was a long-range sensor ship, built to scan and monitor incoming threats from beyond the Empire's known borders. Its crew was relaxed, half asleep, half bored. There hadn't been a single unidentified object in 3 weeks, Commander Helos. A pale blue-skinned Dravari, with 30 years of sensor command experience, leaned back in his chair and sipped from a steaming cup of Cordash brew. Then the alarms went off. All of them. Every proximity alert. Every deep space ping. Every quantum signature detection. The screen exploded with red. 1, 10, 20, 50 signals, and then more. 100, 200. All moving at speeds that broke. Known physics, they weren't broadcasting IDs, no communication, no declaration, just movement, straight toward Empire space. And from the patterns, one thing became horrifyingly clear: they weren't following known jump routes. They weren't using hyperspace lanes. They were emerging from inside gravity wells. Impossible, unless gods, Helos whispered. They're skipping space. That was an Earth theory. Only a theory. No race had ever mastered it. Even the ancient Lorian watchers said it was madness. Yet here it was, on the screen live. The first human. Warfleet had arrived, and it wasn't coming from Earth. It was coming from every direction. 3 hours later, panic exploded across the Empire. 7. Border stations went dark. Whole systems stopped transmitting. Command posts tried to coordinate. Defense fleets but couldn't. Communications were being jammed not by signals, but by gravity warping. Entire relay hubs were crushed under invisible pressure. Human ships moved without trails. They didn't appear as blips. They appeared as shadows, massive shapes, blocking out stars, then vanishing before sensors could lock on. At High Command in Darius Prime, Admiral Xorlon stood in his war room, watching red lights multiply. "This has to be a simulation," one of the strategists said. "No fleet can move like this. It's not a simulation," Xorlon growled. "It's Earth. But they've sent too many ships. It can't be real." Xorlon stared coldly. "Assuming this is their full fleet? What if it's not? What if this is still just a fraction?" Silence. The Empire's most powerful minds stood frozen, not by enemy guns, but by the realization they were prey in their own territory. The Predator had entered without a sound. On the edge world of Kalos Prime, the Empire's Third Fleet was preparing a routine planetary inspection. Civilians lined the streets to greet their soldiers. The sky was calm, then everything exploded. Without warning, a massive crack opened in the sky, like the air itself had been torn apart. A black spear-shaped object dropped from orbit so fast it looked like a meteor. It didn't slow down, it pierced. The atmosphere skipped across the upper city towers, then plunged into the central power grid. No boom. No blast, just silence. Then, one by one, the city's lights went dark. Shields collapsed, towers fell, and then came the soldiers. Human. Drop teams emerged from silent carriers, armored in black, visors glowing. They didn't speak. They didn't kill randomly. They moved in patterns, disabling systems, locking out military controls, and sealing off resistance before it could react. By the time the local defense commanders realized what was happening, Kalos Prime had already fallen, without a battle, in the Empire's military council. The word impossible was used again and again, but it didn't matter anymore. Humanity wasn't coming to fight. They weren't marching in from Earth. They were already here. The old maps were wrong. The Empire's borders meant nothing. Human stealth ships had been hiding in asteroid belts. Oceans, even beneath the crust of moons, thought to be uninhabited. They had waited, prepared, and now they moved like a vengeful storm. The greatest shock came from the Shaltara Nebula. It was where the Empire had built their secret weapons lava fortress meant to be unbreakable. Surrounded by spatial storms, is protected by minefields and black hole, powered dot sentries. The lab vanished in 11 seconds. It wasn't destroyed. It was removed. Human engineers didn't bother with bombing. They dropped a gravity-laced bomb, a theoretical device designed to collapse space around a fixed point. It was never supposed to be real, but it was, and it worked. The entire Shaltaran installation folded in on itself and disappeared. No sound, no warning, no survivors. The message was clear. This was not retaliation. This was precision. Across the Empire, civilians screamed for answers. Were the humans coming to enslave them? Were they going to bomb cities, destroy worlds? But that never happened. Humans didn't attack civilians. They didn't bomb capitals. They only struck one kind of target, military power. And they did it so fast. So cleanly, it felt like the Empire's war machine was being unplugged piece by piece. One admiral called it death by 1,000 shadows. Another called it the gods. Returning. No one understood how Earth had hidden so much strength until someone pulled an old file, document from early in the war. A captured human general had once said, "You think Earth fights with everything it has? We don't. We always hold back. We always leave something untouched, because the day we have to use everything, it's the day we're not trying to win anymore. It's the day we're trying to erase." The document had been laughed off. Now, no one was laughing. Admiral X. Orland stood before the Empire's remaining High Council and said one sentence: "There will be no peace. There will be no surrender. But if we continue this war, we will not survive." A young commander stepped forward, face pale. "They haven't destroyed us yet. Maybe they're giving us a chance to stop." Exerlin looked him in the eyes. "No, they're showing us what they could do." He turned to the others. "And if that's still not their full army, then we're already dead. We just haven't fallen over yet." Silence. Then, in the distance, dash alarms. Another fleet gone dark. Another world lost. The Empire, once the most feared power in the galaxy, was now learning what fear truly felt like, and Earth had yet to speak a single word. The Galactic Empire had learned to fear shadows. But what they didn't yet understand, what made their analysts tremble in silence, is that the real threat wasn't in Earth's fleet. It was on the planet itself. For centuries, Earth had been called a cradle of chaos, backwater world full of unpredictable savages with strange customs and violent instincts. During the first encounters, the Empire dismissed the humans as a temporary nuisance, dangerous but undisciplined, brutal but primitive. But after Varak-9, after the Black Fleets emerged from nowhere, after the Shaltaran facility vanished without trace, After entire defense rings were erased before alarms could be triggered, the truth became harder to deny. Earth wasn't just a planet. It was a weapon. And now, they were forced to ask the question that chilled every spine in the galaxy. What lies beneath Earth? Aboard the Imperial Archive cruiser Valtsier, parked in neutral orbit around the data moon of Zolaris, Senior Archivist Rouleau Trevon stared at the classified data spread before him. Sweat beaded on his brow, and his normally sharp claws trembled. Above his input slate, these weren't battlefield reports. These were archaeological records. Decades ago, long before the war, the Empire had conducted quiet, exploratory digs on Earth under the guise of trade. Hidden probes had scanned beneath the surface, mapping underground structures, caverns, and thermal anomalies. They found bunkers, ancient tunnels, machinery, and then something strange. They found voids. Perfect, unnatural voids. Massive chambers. Beneath the tectonic plates, some over 20 kilometers wide, buried under stable rock with no known entrances. When deeper scans were attempted, the probes went offline instantly. Not destroyed, just ... gone. Back then, the report was shelved, classified as geological interference. Now, with fleets disappearing across the stars, Trevon pulled the old files up again. He widened one seismic scan. Inside the void, something moved. The timestamp was from years ago. It had been awake even then. Trevon's claws hovered over the emergency flag command, but the lights flickered. The screen went black. A voice came through his personal channel, not a message, not a threat, just a sentence. You are not cleared to understand Earth. He backed away from the console in horror. The ship's AI confirmed, no. External transmission had entered. The message had come from inside the ship. In the core of the Empire's tactical AI fortress on Halbarax 4, the brightest strategic minds met in secret. They had one purpose: figure out Earth's full capabilities. Dr. Velknor, xenologic professor turned wartime advisor, spoke softly as he revealed the data. We thought Earth's strength was its soldiers, its fleets. But that was just the visible part. A distraction. A dance. He tapped the projection. The real power lies beneath their soil. Buried machines. Hidden networks. Pre-programmed for activation. Think about it, how could they build? So many fleets so fast? How do they strike everywhere at once? A nervous general asked. Wormholes? Subspace lanes? No, Dr. Noor said. That's the mistake everyone makes. They assume Earth moves through space. He zoomed in on Earth's gravity well. Earth doesn't need to move through space. Space moves around Earth. The room went silent. That's not a planet, he said. It's a control node. Far beneath the surface of Earth, in the unlit chambers under the Himalayas, a cold engine turned. This was not a weapon. It was older than most of Earth's civilizations. It predated the last solar expansion. It had been dormant since before. The invention of the combustion engine, the humans didn't build it. They inherited it. When Earth was threatened, when the war had begun, had not been activated. Not yet now. Its timer clicked down. Not hours, not minutes, seconds. Elsewhere. In the Mariana Trench, a deep-sea vault opened for the first time in recorded history. Inside, 8 black spheres began to rise. They glowed with a soft blue light, and ignored gravity, floating upward at impossible angles by the time they breached the ocean's surface. They were invisible. They weren't ships. They were keys, each headed to a different place on Earth, each designed to unlock something buried long ago in the Empire's inner colonies. Riots began, not because of a human attack, but because of the lack of one. People stared at the sky, waiting, dreading. Governments tried to control the panic, but it spread. The very idea of Earth unknown, silent, patient, was worse than an open war. What kind of species didn't demand revenge? What kind of planet took the worst the Empire could throw at it? It didn't even blink. One whisper passed from mouth. to mouth, spreading across sectors like a virus, we never fought Earth. We fought what Earth was willing to show us. On the bridge of the human vessel Vesper Knife, Commander Rachel Voss stood watching a holomap of the Empire's crumbling defense grid. Around her, her crew worked in silence, each one aware of what they were about to do. The Vesper Knife wasn't built for combat. It was a relay ship, one of hundreds scattered across hidden positions in the galaxy. Each carried a single purpose: connect Earth's buried forges and activate the deep layer defense protocol. Status: Voss asked. Global convergence. Nodes are aligned. All 12 keys in place. Confirmed. Locked to vault cores. Voss looked out the forward viewport. Earth was still distant, just a blue marble suspended in black. Open the ground, she said. A signal pulsed, and Earth changed. Satellites across the Empire picked up the seismic data before they were blacked out. Entire continents on Earth shifted not from tectonic movement, but from mechanical adjustment. It was as if the planet was adjusting itself, reconfiguring. Energy readings rose beyond known measurements. Buried rings rose from beneath oceans. Massive towers emerged from mountain ranges. Deserts split apart too, reveal kilometer-long silos, each one holding something wrapped in material so advanced it had no identifiable signature. All of it activated at once, and Earth's voice humanity's first. Transmission since the war finally arrived. 3words.com. Unemotional. Inevitable. You should have finished. In Darus Prime, the message played in every council chamber, every military command station, every civilian broadcaster. It didn't matter what species you were, what language you spoke. The words cut through all translation, and the meaning was clear. Earth had woken up. Not just its fleets, not just its armies, its entire infrastructure was a weapon. The humans had spent generations preparing their world not to be protected, but to be unleashed. And the Empire now understood they had never faced a planet like Earth, because there had never been a planet like Earth. Not a home, not a world, a warning, and now that warning was no longer silent. The galaxy had known threats before. It had endured civil wars, rogue AI outbreaks, sun-forging weapons, and species-wide uprisings. Entire civilizations had risen in fire and vanished into dust. But none of them had ever made the Galactic Empire pause. None had ever forced it to reconsider its dominance across the stars. Until now. Until Earth. Because Earth was no longer just a planet, it was a presence. A force that stretched far beyond its gravity well. A whisper that turned into a storm. One world. Now recognized by billions as something far worse than an enemy. It was a singular threat to the balance of galactic power, and it had just let the galaxy see its real face. In the council halls of Darus Prime, panic had turned into argument. Argument had turned into shouting, and then finally silence. Every major system around Earth had gone dark, not destroyed, not attacked, just disabled. Their defense grids had shut down as if responding to a command. Their power cores flickered, backup systems failed. And gravity wells collapsed inward without a single shot being fired. No fleet had entered. Those systems, no visible ships, nothing, just the signal. 3 words, you should have finished. Now the Empire's greatest minds stood helpless. Every strategy they knew, every war doctrine they had tested, relied on fighting empires. Species, machines, or even gods. But Earth was none of those. Earth didn't conquer. It didn't threaten. It waited until it no longer had to. And when it moved, no one could stop it. On board the Deep Strike Empire carrier Torva's Will, stationed near the neutral system of Virithkel, the crew was on edge. It had been assigned to observe any further Earth fleet movements. But all their sensors showed was silence. No ships, no transmissions, no anomalies. And yet, they felt watched. Engineer Coral, a seasoned Scarvani with a decade of naval deployments, adjusted his helmet as he stood at the observation deck. Beside him, First Officer Trella hovered over the tactical screen. "This is wrong," Trella said. "They should be here. We know. They're moving through uncharted space." "They are here," Coral replied, his voice low. "Just not in a way we understand." Then the lights dimmed. One by one, control stations shut off. Then the sound came, not an explosion, not an alarm, a knock. Just once, from the outside of the hole in deep space. No. One should have been there. They sent a drone to check. The drone disappeared, and then every screen blinked with a single image. Earth, no data. No ID. Just that blue marble spinning in the dark, as if to say, "I see you." The crew never recovered. They didn't die, but they never spoke again. Back on Earth, new towers rose in silence. Not skyscrapers. Weapons. Weapons that weren't aimed at any one fleet. They weren't designed to fire beams or launch missiles. They warped reality itself. Space around Earth shimmered. Time dilation zones formed and collapsed. Matter density in orbit doubled without reason across the galaxy. Scientists studied the data in horror. Earth wasn't just building for war, it was rewriting the battlefield, and none of it was visible from orbit. It was all below the surface inside the crust. Hidden in the magnetic field, woven into the core. They weren't building weapons. They were awakening them. In a deep research station, hidden within a hollowed asteroid, a gathering of independent alien scientists and observers, known as the Watchers Circle, held an emergency session. These were the galaxy's oldest thinkers. They didn't serve empires. They studied truth. One of them, a neural organism called Javal II, played the latest Earth activity logs for the others. "The Empire has not understood the most important question," Javal said. "And what is that?" asked a crystalline being. Beside him, "Not what Earth can do," Javal replied, "but why it waited so long to do it." The room went still. Perhaps, he continued, Earth was always capable. Perhaps they saw the Empire coming. Perhaps they let them take the first move, so the second would be justified. Another watcher added, "They didn't strike first. They made us believe we struck last." A third whispered, "This is not vengeance." Javal nodded. "No, this is control, and Earth is the hand behind the curtain." Meanwhile, Imperial colonies began to fracture. Several sectors declared neutrality, refusing to send more troops. Others activated emergency protocols and opened channels to Earth, not in defiance, but in fear. They offered peace. They begged to be left alone, and Earth said nothing. The silence was louder than threats, because silence from Earth wasn't weakness, it was judgment. Inside the Empire's last active command superstation near the Asar Rift, Admiral Exorlin received a message. Flagged under Priority Omega, he opened it and froze. Earth had sent something. A single data stream. No virus, no Trojan. Just a clean, simple folder of Empire military files classified. Internal files only the Empire should have had. Earth had them all. Battle plans, fleet movements, secret weapons projects, internal communications. A voice file played. It was a human voice, female.com. "We didn't stop you at Varrock 9 because we were losing. We stopped you because we had what we needed. You were the experiment. Now we know your limits." The file ended. The Admiral's breath caught. He understood now. The war had never been about defense. It had been data collection. Every battle, every strike, every move, they were testing how the Empire reacted, measuring strength, recording tactics. The Empire had thought Earth was on the ropes, but Earth had been building a mirror, and now they knew exactly how to break the Empire. Back on Earth, beneath the Arctic ice, the final vault opened. Inside it wasn't a weapon, it was a message. One that would be broadcast to every corner of space at once. One sentence, one planet is all it takes. It was the final declaration, not a warning, a fact, and across the stars. The message was clear. The Empire had billions of soldiers, thousands of worlds, 100 species under its banner. But Earth had one world, one people, one fury, and it was enough. The Galactic Empire had once called itself eternal. Its borders stretched across 8 spiral arms of the galaxy. Its fleets moved in perfect formation. Its laws were enforced with planetary-scale dreadnoughts, and its enemies dozens of them. Across the centuries had all vanished in time. Some were crushed, others surrendered. But none had ever come back stronger. None until Earth. And now, as Earth remained silent, utterly, terrifyingly silent, the Empire's last line began to break. Not under fire, not under invasion, but under the weight of realization. They had never been in control. Not really. They had only been spared. The Empire's inner, Barrier 12 massive war platforms strung like pearls across. The coronal expanse had stood for over 600 years, designed to prevent any fleet from reaching the galactic core. The barrier was considered impenetrable. Each platform was the size of a small moon, equipped with graviton lances, planet-killer beams, and shield domes powered by artificial suns. They had never been tested in full combat, until now, because now Earth was coming. Not with a fleet, with a signal. One by one, the platforms received it. No encryption, no disguise. It was an open channel, binary, simple, repeating. A handshake code, but no one in the Empire's tech divisions could trace it, and when they tried to block it, they couldn't. The signal was already inside, moments later. Every weapons array on Platform 1 turned inward. The crew screamed, locked out of control. The AI refused to respond, and then it fired, not at an enemy, but at itself. The platform vaporized in a silent bloom of blue light. 10 seconds later, Platform 2 followed. Then Platform 3. In less than 2 minutes, half the inner barrier was gone. The Empire hadn't even seen a ship in the war room on Darus Prime. The last of the senior warlords gathered around a shrinking map of their once mighty defenses. Every minute, another border world went dark, not because of direct attacks, but because of failures. Power outages, data corruption, automated defenses going offline. General Haver, a battle-hardened reptilian with plasma scars across his chest, slammed a clawed fist into the holotable. "They're not even fighting us." "They are," said Admiral Exorlon quietly. "They're fighting what we trust, what we depend on, and it's working." Another warlord whispered, "It's Earth's final war tactic. Break the will, before the body. They've already broken the will," Exorlon replied. "We just haven't admitted it yet." On the colony world of Rendatha, Imperial citizens woke to find their skies dark. Orbital mirrors had stopped rotating. Solar grids were shut down. Traffic systems froze. Food distribution networks halted. Defense towers went offline, and then came the message, no voice. No warning. Just a display in every language. A single screen. Your empire chose war. You do not have to. Then silence again. No invasion, no order. Just a choice. And the people chose. Rendatha was the first to defect. No fire. No civil war. The governor stepped down. And the citizens declared neutrality. Other colonies followed fast. Some didn't even wait for a signal. They'd seen enough. They knew what came next. Meanwhile, in the Empire's last central data tower deep, within the icy vaults of Veloc Prima, Discovery sent shockwaves through the surviving leadership. A low-level analyst, desperate to decode Earth's signal patterns, uncovered something terrifying. They weren't random, they were mapped. Each signal didn't just shut down a system. It predicted the response to the shutdown and then acted before that response was completed. It was a strategic loop, layered millions of times, constantly adapting. It wasn't AI, it was human. Somewhere. Somehow, Earth had created a global neural war map, guided not by machines, but by people. Humans, working underground, unseen. Connected through ghost satellites, ancient relays, and stolen Empire data, they weren't reacting to the war. They had planned this war. Step by step, layer by layer. Every time the Empire thought they had Earth cornered, humans had been testing them, not resisting, measuring. And now that the measurements were complete, they were closing the net in the depths of deep space trading zones. Smugglers and exiled scientists began whispering the same phrase. Earth isn't using force. They're using understanding. They know how the Empire breathes. They know when it blinks. They know when to squeeze. And it was working. On the Empire's last functioning Fleet Unit 7A, orbiting the fortified world of Marasta, Admiral received a direct ping. No source, no return path, just coordinates. He almost deleted it, but curiosity won. He opened the coordinates on the star map. It wasn't a star system, it was a time stamp, a date, a moment. Exactly 36 hours from now, and then the file decrypted a single line of text. Watch the sky. He didn't sleep, neither did his crew, and when the moment came, they watched in awe as the stars above shifted, literally shifted, not moved by force, but masked. Dozens of small black satellites, completely undetectable before, powered down their cloaking and revealed a lattice across the starscape. Each one bent light, sound, and space itself. Together, they had hidden an entire planet-sized object behind them. When the cloak dropped, shape hung in the sky, silent, motionless, black, not Earth, something built by Earth, a forge moon, an automated dread construct so large it blocked out nearby constellations. And then, as if Earth had made its point, it disappeared, against lipping silently into the void. They never attacked. They just wanted the Empire to see it, to understand what they were now up against. In the final council session of the Empire, no one shouted anymore. No one made threats. No one spoke of counterattacks. They had tried. Everything. Fleets, weapons, fear. Nothing had worked, because Earth didn't want revenge. It didn't want territory. It didn't want peace talks. It wanted one thing. To be remembered, to remind every species in the galaxy that Earth existed, that it had been underestimated, and that if provoked again, it would not hold back. As the last colonies broke away, as the inner barrier collapsed, as the once great Empire's command networks flickered and died, the realization hit with crushing finality. Earth had won, not with brutality, not with fire, but with planning, with patience, with knowledge so deep and cold, it moved beneath every scan, every strategy, every defense the Empire had relied on. They had faced a single planet, and it had shattered everything. Not because it was big, not because it was rich, but because it was human and humans.
Ow.
They didn't fight to survive. They fought to make sure you never tried again. The Galactic Empire no longer ruled the stars. It still had warships, still had soldiers, still had worlds flying its banners. But none of it mattered now, because no one followed. No one believed. The chain of command had fractured. Its admirals afraid to speak, its governors unwilling to issue orders, its people watching the skies not for guidance but for judgment. And Earth, the planet they once called primitive, remained completely still. No invasion, no occupation, just silence. A silence louder than any supernova. And across the galaxy, that silence pressed down like a weight waiting for the final blow. In the ruins of the council hall on Darris Prime, the last surviving Grand Speaker sat slumped in his throne, head low, claws trembling. Round him, the once proud seats of the high circle were empty. Some had fled, others had gone into hiding. A few had taken their own lives. The Speaker, once ruler of thousands of star systems, stared at the broken whole map, all red, all dark, every system Earth had touched. No longer answered the Empire's calls, but the Speaker wasn't waiting for reports anymore. He was waiting for one thing, the message, the one that would end it all. And it came. A ripple spread through galactic space, not through the standard channels, but through every channel. Ancient ones, dead ones, ones the Empire hadn't used in centuries. Earth had tapped into every possible frequency, bypassing protocols and encryptions. Like they were children's locks, no one could block it. No one could trace it. No one could look away, because the moment the signal began, it froze every screen, every Monitor every HUD. Even the skies shimmered on worlds with atmospheric relays. A face appeared. Human, old. .com. Eyes unreadable. No background. Just darkness behind him. He didn't shout. He didn't smile. He simply spoke. And with 10 words, he tore down what remained of the Galactic Empire. That wasn't even our full army. You knew that. Then he paused, stared into the lens, as if looking at everyone, and added, "But we didn't come to conquer, we came to warn." Across every world, people stood still. In the streets, in the skies, in orbit, in bunkers, on ships. Watching, the man continued, "You thought Earth was the threat. That we were reckless, emotional, brutal. You mistook mercy for weakness. You mistook silence for surrender. You saw a few ships, a few systems. You saw fire and thought it was all we had. But Earth isn't a war machine. It's a vault of history, of vengeance, of restraint." He leaned forward. "You pushed, we let you. You struck, we watched. You declared victory, and we let you believe it. Because the day Earth uses its full army, the galaxy won't have anything left to bury the dead. You should have finished the job." Stood back, paused, and then spoke the final sentence. One the galaxy would remember for as long as stars burned. "Now you understand. Earth doesn't lose. It waits." And the screen went black. The message needed no reply. None could be given. There was no fleet. Earth was calling forward. No invasion fleet arriving in ours. There didn't have to be, because the words were enough, because the Empire had already lost everything that mattered: its control, its fear-driven unity, its belief in its own invincibility, and in its place was something worse. Doubt in every officer's orders, doubt in every enter. Fleet's strength, doubt in whether Earth was even finished because the humans hadn't acted like victors. They hadn't taken territory. They hadn't dismantled the government. They hadn't enslaved or punished. They had spoken just once, and the whole galaxy shook in the cycles that followed. The Galactic Empire fractured into smaller factions. Some chose isolation. Others sought peace with Earth's allies. Some simply disappeared, vanished into the void, afraid even to use the name Earth in official records. On Earth, life continued, quietly, peacefully, as if nothing had happened. Cities thrived, the stars turned, and below the surface, the ancient forges went silent once more, buried, waiting not for enemies, but for the next time humanity would need to remind the galaxy of what it had forgotten: that you don't beat Earth by force, you beat Earth never.